Welcome to Quintessential Comics, episode 10. That's right, we hit double digits. What? I'm your host, Alice Quinn, and...
I'm your co-host, Matt Garcia.
And I like his beanie. Today, in the studio, we got the one, the only, Sean Ward. A somewhat controversial figure, you may think. Well, you'll get the real scoop soon on Quintessential Comics.
Hi guys, it's Matt with your news for this week. Coming out of DC, we get their new logo is officially their new logo. Look at it here. Yes, wonderful. Senior VP Amit Desai says the new logo communicates the idea of dual identity because it peels off. And blah, 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 read our shit. That's, I don't know. They're going to start putting on stuff in March. You can look at a tasty teaser here. Wonderful. Anyway, it goes on everything. They're going to put on games and stuff like that. So look forward to your custom fit DC logo on whatever you're reading or playing or watching or eating when they come out with this new cereal in March. If you've been reading Batman the Dark Knight, there's not really news about this. I just wanted to show a picture of White Rabbit. Boop, boop, boop. Yay. Okay. Coming out of Stan Lee's face. He's partnering POW Entertainment, his company, and 1821 Comics. The first thing they're doing is a graphic novel reimagining of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Only this time it's Romeo and Juliet, the war, with it's set in the future, and they have guns and shit. There's a picture. Stan Lee said he thought it was, I think, the most beautiful comic he's seen. He may be biased. Anyways. And out of Marvel, Bendis and Maleev's Moon Knight series is over with issue number 12 in April. Oh, sad tears from Dave. At least they got a full story's worth. That's what they said. You know, they actually got to tell the whole story, so it didn't get canceled prematurely. Anywho. Image. Speaking of over, Rob Liefeld and Robert Kirkman's The Infinite has come to a punnily fitting end. The Liefeld tweeted that creative differences have sunk The Infinite. Aww. So, that's not happening. Let's see. And graphically, or graphic.ly if you prefer. It's a digital comics provider. They've announced on Monday that tools for creators to self-publish are now on their website. Content for a flat rate. It's available on many platforms, including, iOS, ebooks, Kindle, stuff like that, Android, the Nook, and HTML5 for websites, blogs, and Facebook. So creators can pay a flat fee. They get to keep their rights and profits from their material, and they get to distribute. So that's pretty cool, if you're into that kind of thing. And finally, Avatar Press is taking the series Crossed. Garth Ennis is returning. He started it. And they're going to make it an ongoing series starting in March. That's it for your news this week. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hey, this week, upcoming events in Toronto. So on Friday, the 27th of January. We're still in January. I keep thinking ahead to February, but we're still in January. Friday, the 27th of January, the Underground Cinema is having a double bill of Rocky Horror Picture Show and Repo the Genetic Opera. Now, you may think, what does this have to do with comics? Nothing. But it's a really cool event. When I was a teenager and I couldn't get into bars or clubs or anything, I would go to Rocky Horror because it was just a great time. So that starts at 9:30. Repo goes first at 9:30. Rocky is at 11:55, pretty much 12. And each screening is $8, or get the double bill for $14. That's at the Toronto Underground Cinema, 186 Spadina Avenue. Also, not an event, but important this week, February 1st, Dragon Lady Comics is closing. It'll be gone for good. So this is like your last chance. Go and search through those back bins, bleh. Clean out that stuff because it's not going to be there anymore. All right. So those are your events for Toronto this week on Quintessential Comics. But before you go, let me just shoot something out to the audience. Let me pow with you for a second. I feel a lot of times people are saying, the event stuff is cool, but I never really go. Would you rather we have artists to follow on Twitter this week? Because the episode does air on Fridays. Should we have Follow Friday Twitter comic artists or comic people? What do you think? Let us know. Thanks.
Hi guys, it's Matt again with your releases for this week. Starting with Dark Horse, we have Avatar: The Last Airbender, Volume 1 of The Promise, Part 1. From DC, we have Batman and Robin, Dark Knight, White Knight, hardcover. We have Batman Beyond, Industrial Revolution, and Catwoman, Volume 1, Catman, Batman's newest apprentice. Resurrection Man, Volume 1. Catman is not hot enough. I'm sorry. We have from First Second, Silence of Our Friends graphic novel. And Image is putting out Sam and Twitch Complete Collection, hardcover Volume 2. That's including the John Doe Affair, which was never re-released before. I don't know, re-released. An Ashley Wood cover gallery and behind-the-scenes art. So if you like Spawn, there's some stuff for you. Marvel has a whole bunch of stuff coming out. Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine trade. Captain America hardcover. Daredevil hardcover, Volume 1. Future Foundation hardcover, Volume 2. Red Skull Incarnate trade. Strike Force Morituri trade, Volume 1. Wolverine vs. X-Men trade. And X-Men Legacy Aftermath trade. And coming out of Rebellion, this one's kind of off the radar, Judge Anderson, The Psychic Crime Files. If you like Judge Dredd, how about Judge Dredd with tits, who is also psychic? I don't know. And from Third World Studios, we have The Stuff of Legend, number 4 of 4, Jester's Tale. So if you were reading that, hey, the final one's out. So pick it up, have fun. That's it.
Here today in the studio, I'm joined by Sean Ward.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, to give a quick introduction to the crowd about who you are, what you do, let's just do a quick round off. How many comics you yourself have produced?
Oh, 20-something.
How many songs have you yourself produced?
More than 12, but less than 20.
How many, what am I forgetting?
Videos?
Videos have you produced?
Ooh, hundreds and hundreds. Because let's not forget I did 260-something in a row.
Yeah,
every
for
day.
the daily vlog that
That's
you
right.
almost did for almost a full year.
I was going for the year, and but life took over, you know. Things
hard
started
to
popping off.
It's hard to do a video every day. I do a video once a week, and it's a hassle.
Yeah.
Well, a great hassle, let's be honest. So yeah, when did you start doing all this stuff?
Many years ago. I mean, you could trace it back to being a youngster and being obsessed with the Christopher Reeve Superman and drawing Superman symbols on the table in the kitchen, sometimes on the table, not just on paper, all the way through to just being, you know, basically superheroes, and those stories were an escape for me, and I just like made a decision really early on that I wanted to just like go live in that world. And so that's sort of the world I've been living in, is a world of fantasy and magic ever since.
So when did you put out your first comic, and how did you put it out?
Well, the first one that I like completed, I went and made a handful of copies on a photocopier. So as we were saying, yes, I mean I drew one, and like a lot of time, like anybody else, I would start on one and never finish it, and then get a new idea, start on it and finish it. But the first time I like made myself finish it was many years ago, early 2000s, and what I did with it was photocopy a couple of copies and give them out to a couple of friends, and then from giving them out to friends turned into giving them out to strangers, and then giving them out to strangers led to selling them to strangers, and that led to me standing on the street corner for 3 years. You want to buy a comic book? To everybody that passed. Try to keep the rent paid.
That's hardcore, man. That's hardcore.
I'm hardcore.
Well, I know that. All right, well, let's bring it up to date. Let's talk about your current comic.
Oh, I'd love to.
Right here, The Beatles, Tomorrow Never Knows.
This is a big book for me, not least of all because I've got this beautiful dog now in my life. But this book was a long time coming, because a lot of the heads, the old school heads in Toronto, will remember that another edition of this book once saw the light of day.
Ooh.
Back in 2003. So this is the remastered edition, because I've got Hearth Publishing backing me up, right? Hearth is also who lets us have this studio here.
Thanks, Hearth.
And great bunch of people, so partnered up with them, and they came on board and helped spiff it up. Make it a real thing with a barcode. When buy it chapters, they go, right? get real fly like that. It's got a couple of copies in the not the Library of Congress, but the Canadian equivalent of. Yeah, when they issue you an ISBN number, you have to send them they send you a letter and demand a couple of copies for the archive.
That's totally awesome.
It's pretty great.
So,
and,
did the earlier edition of this book, was it the same drawings inside? Was it the same format?
Mostly the same. This remastered edition, I redid all of the lettering, redrew certain parts of it, or just like went in even just with the computer. And this is why it's called the remastered edition, because with the time and me to go back. Because what happened was when I first put it out, like with anything, like when we're young artists like we do, we're very self-conscious about the work that we've produced. So I put it out there more as an experiment in format than anything else. And this was still very, very early on in my career. And, back then the way that I would work is I would like set the date, book the release party, book the bands for the release party, design a whole big entertainment package for the release party, and then go, okay, now I'm locked in, I got to crank this book out. So, did it so that I could meet that deadline, get it out there. We had an underground success with it. We sold, I think, we did 500 copies of that run and sold them out. It was beautiful. But at the same time, I was very self-conscious about the art, right? Because I look at it now, all I'm seeing is
the mistakes.
Exactly, stuff that probably nobody else would even notice or whatever. So I was able to now go in and take the time after having a lot of years between even looking at it. So when I found it again and looked at it again, there was a lot of things in it that, even though maybe the drawing was, I was a younger artist then, so even though the drawing was kind of, weaker in spots or maybe just less detailed in spots, there's still a lot going on with it that I felt was some of the most imaginative stuff I've ever tried to do in comics. And so, and also the Beatles connection, it's really important for me to always periodically kind of bring it home. That is to say, reacquaint my audience with where it all comes from for me.
Yeah.
And so the Beatles is sort of like the foundation of this fountain of creativity for me in a very long esoteric thing I'm sure we'll get into one day. But every so often, every few years, I like to bring it back around to let everybody know the source of the inspiration. And so for me it's like the odd combo of Beatles and Wu Tang, or the old school hip hop represented by Wu Tang. A lot of people would think there's nothing in common there, but for me, there's sort of the two driving forces, the two polars of sort of my approach to work into creativity.
Yeah, no, it's really great, and it definitely takes a different look at the Beatles. It's a psychedelic history, a comics history of the psychedelic Beatles.
Well, yeah, so it's not just this is the Beatles, this is what they do. This is their journey of how they got really rushed into things and got pushed around from one gig to another, and and the toll that took on their interpersonal relationships
and their creativity,
and just being at that crux of what was going on in the culture in terms of what psychedelic represents in terms of both the art and the lifestyle and the culture that it all existed in. They were, nobody can ever argue that they were like the utmost representation of kind of that moment in time. So just my kind of feeling goes that there's so much about the culture now that's rooted in that it's, it was great for me to have, this exercise to sort of try to trace that lineage, trying to trace that line that I see that takes you from Beatles to Wu Tang. And once you've gone on that, followed that line that I've led you on from Beatles to Wu Tang, now you've got more of the full understanding of where I'm coming from in the Super Party comics and the other stuff that I do. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man.
So, yeah.
So check it out. Tomorrow Never Knows, From Beatles to Wu Tang. Let's bring it back to Sean Ward.
Okay,
for a
let's
second.
do that.
What's next for you? I know you've got tons of stuff on the go, including a very notable Star Wars Day Toronto we're both working on. But comics-wise, what's next?
What's next is Super Party, the next issue. I got this kind of the most esoteric story I've tried to do yet, but also the most fun and the most over-the-top, cartoony and silly and bright and colorful. Even though the comics are in black and white, it's still colorful is the word that I use. So that's what I'm working on, this next story that's Benny Bunny, the Queen, Banquo Burger, Bigfoot, and Atomic Man as, with that cast of characters.
Question.
Yes.
The viewers want to know, will Alice Quinn be making a guest appearance in the next issue of Super Potty?
That's possible. That's possible.
We'll rap about it later. We'll rap about it.
I could see how that could be a fit. I'll put it that way. I got an idea. I got an idea already.
All right, man. Well, is there anything you want to say? I mean, I know you love to do what you do. Is there anything you want to say to our audience before we wrap?
Yes, I want to tell the audience that there's a new mood in the country, and that there's a moment in time that we're all a part of right here, and the internet is here at this time for us all to come together, break down the barriers of language and culture and even time and distance that keep us apart, and then just live out like the Jackson brothers sang about when they said, the whole world's coming together now. That's what the internet is doing, is bringing us all together. And now you just gotta ask, can you feel it? You know?
Can you dig it? Yeah, unless Sopa shuts us all down.
Well, it ain't gonna stop me from doing what I do. That's all I know.
Yeah, man. As long as they don't shut down YouTube, we'll still be running.
Or if not YouTube, then another platform.
Yeah,
and if not
we'll
that
find a new
platform,
one.
something else, right? Like Mark Rial was upstairs saying that if, Sopa comes along and he can't call it CSI Hearth anymore, okay, fine, I'll call it Hearth Detectives. And it's just that, that Kanye West attitude of one time he was getting interviewed and he, for a quick second, got self-conscious, like he was giving away too much of his secret sauce. And he just shook it off and went, if they try to rip me off, I'll think of something new. Right? You just always have that attitude about stuff. Life is going to change forever. They'll never stop changing. In fact, they're only going to change faster. And so as long as you're just confident that you're going to, move with the changes and thrive, whatever comes along, you're going to do fine.
And this little tidbit of advice and many more like it are why I hang out with Sean Ward so often.
I like that.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. This means a lot to me, actually, to be invited on your first season of shows.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode 10 of Quinntessential Comics. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Let us know what you think in the comments below or on Twitter or whatever. Whatever. You can find me all over the internet. All over. If you have a request for who we should interview or have as a guest on next, let us know. And next week on Quintessential Comics, we have Book Club. What? It's going to be awesome. Be there, because it's cool. Friday, lunchtime. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Quintessential Comics. Hey, you might be wondering, what? The episode just ended. Why are you back here? Well, I'm telling you the ways you can support Quintessential Comics online. If you care to, please do check out our various sites and like and or comment on these videos and or other stuff I do. Firstly, check out Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, or the website. Thanks for your support. Love ya!